Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Christina Knight, and I will be moderating the next panel, Fortifying AI-Driven Cybersecurity in the Guam Defense Ecosystem. Guam is just not a forward operating base, it is part of the homeland, and the defense of critical infrastructure is the defense of America. As Admiral Paparo emphasized in the Prevail strategy in yesterday's speech, responsibility is to anticipate threats and stay ahead of them. Our job is to enhance and improve capabilities through technology and partnerships, ensuring we move from reactive defense towards predictive and proactive protection. We must also operate at the speed of relevance and advancement, not only for the fight tonight, but for the fight of the future. That takes a whole-of-government approach with CISA, FBI, interagency partners, academia, industry, and the people of Guam working together. It is also encouraging everyone to listen to a podcast. So we're talking on cyber threats. So if anyone has not listened to How to Catch a Thief podcast, it is a very good podcast that kind of tells the lineage between past and to where we are now. So a lot of the things that we're talking about, if you're not familiar with the cyber threat as a whole, I highly recommend that. Also, if you don't like the questions that I've generated, you can talk to Ryan. Most people know Ryan as ChatGPT. So please consult ChatGPT if you don't like the questions. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the panelists to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about the topic.
Half a day, everyone. I'm Rachel Manglotnia. I'm the Information Systems Security Manager over at GTA. So basically, I head their information security program, specializing in governance, risk management, and compliance. And for those who aren't familiar with GTA, we are a small telco on Guam. We're the only 100% US-owned telco on Guam. We've been in this game 70 years, and we provide telco services, cable landing stations. Out of the 5 cable landing stations on Guam, we control 3. And we have recently moved into data centers, particularly our GU3 data center, our first purpose-built Tier 3 data center, which I have the distinct pleasure of securing.
Half a day, everyone. I am Esther Agagi. I am the Governor's Homeland Security Advisor, and I am also here on behalf of the Office of Civil Defense and the Mariana Fusion Center, and also the Guam Recovery Office. Before I took this job, I served a term with the Guam National Guard, and it's so nice to see some friendly faces in the audience, to include our friends from Indo-PACOM, who I met right after Typhoon Mawar. And I'd like to thank the Governor of Guam for giving me this unique opportunity to serve the people of Guam in this capacity. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm a Fleet Cyber Command employee underneath U.S. Cybercom, integrated into Indo-PACOM as a cyber operations planner. I've been in this theater for roughly 18 years, both in uniform and out of uniform, and I'm happy to have the opportunity today to speak with everybody.
Hi, Noah Smith. I'm the Executive Director for Cyberspace Operations. I also work for Fleet Cyber, U.S. Cyber Command. I'm integrated into Indo-PACOM as a technical advisor for cyberspace operations. I routinely come down here probably every 4 to 6 weeks to hear what needs to be done. I've been at this now for about 40 years, 37 of which have been in the Pacific Theater. So here to help, here to answer questions.
Hi, I'm Dr. Leslie Camacho Aquino. I am a professor of mathematics at the University of Guam. I'm chair for the Division of Math and Computer Science. So I also oversee the computer science program. And I am a part-time instructor of cybersecurity management in the School of Business and Public Admin as well. So I joined the university in 2014, but prior to that, I worked for the federal government in cyber-related, cyber-adjacent areas. And so one of the things, I wear multiple hats, as many of us in the government here do. And one of them is right now helping to try and build out a technical cybersecurity minor program under computer science so that we'll have something to complement our cybersecurity management minor program under School of Business and Public Admin.
Perfect, thank you. Rachel, we're going to start with you. What are the best practices or governance frameworks can ensure appropriate data sharing between military, civil, and private networks?
Okay, this might be an interesting answer, but I don't think more frameworks are the solution. And I know it's a little weird coming from a GRC person. I think we get a false sense that adherence to a framework implies security. I'm going to get on my soapbox. In recent years, there's been this big proliferation of SOC in a box, get your ISO 2701 in like 3 months. It takes something that should be a holistic portfolio of programs across the whole business and turns it into a check-the-box exercise, which is the wrong way of looking at things. So often in industries and across Guam, I've seen it, we've gotten our certification, and then that's the end. It really should be the beginning. There's a joke in compliance, in as much as people in compliance and audit are known for their sense of humor. If you have two competing frameworks, somebody comes up with one, I guess the bright idea to have one framework to rule them all, and that's how you end up with 3 frameworks instead that you have to comply with. So don't make the assumption that compliance to a framework means security. The only way we can truly develop good security is defense in depth. How many layers are we adding? How many different areas are we covering? So more frameworks isn't the best thing, and especially with AI, we've moved so fast in recent years that the frameworks we do have, like AI RMF or the ISO 42001, they're playing catch up. It's not enough. So the only way to help secure AI is to make sure you're already doing your good basics in information security across the board. How good are your cybersecurity awareness programs? Are you making sure your people know, hey, don't be putting things in public instances? Do you have a private instance? Is your stuff being safeguarded from being trained? So we're experiencing new attacks through AI, and it kind of starts like in-house and at home. If your basics are good, you'll be okay. If you're already struggling with that, that's where you need to focus on first, not catching up to AI.
One additional comment I think that would be worth considering is we talk about frameworks. I know different organizations have different ways of conducting training and applying those frameworks. But one thing that I think we've seen is taking a look at how we audit compliance. And I'll even just talk about training for a second. I know we have National Cybersecurity Month. Different organizations might have periods they dedicate to training. But after that training is conducted, how much time is applied to maybe testing or auditing, an employee's compliance with that training, right? Because lots of times you do the training, you just kind of like zip through it and you move on to those other tasks. But auditing compliance, maybe in fun and creative ways, can really reinforce or help you evaluate how you're postured and what's resonating with your employees or things you might need to address. I think if from a cybersecurity perspective, I'm going to throw out that magic 70%. Phishing, inappropriately handling information, social engineering probably accounts for the largest proportion of a malicious actor's ability to position or get access to terrain. And a lot of that can really be adjusted or mitigated, if you consider that, how do you audit, how effective is what you're doing in terms of educating your workforce.
Thank you. And speaking of threat actors, Esther, how are cyber threats to industry and government currently being reported and shared on Guam?
Thanks, Colonel Knight.
Go ahead, Esther.
I cede to you if you.
Esther, we're going to turn it to you. Noah will have
That's
the
really my
next.
question. Okay.
So what we are currently doing is we're working through and with our interagency partners to share threat intelligence. What we have done here in Guam in close partnership with CISA is to leverage their reporting mechanisms and their authorities to inform the community and the municipalities of what threats are out there or what vulnerabilities are emerging. CISA has been a great partner for us, and I'm very hopeful that as new confirmations come in and the new director of CISA is in place, things will significantly be enhanced, and we will be able to get after our threat intelligence for the community and for our municipalities at speed.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd just like to start with saying that when I first took this job, the governor of Guam told me, she said this, Esther, my greatest worry is that I will wake up and all the money in the bank is gone. And that would be due to a cyber attack. So she said, make sure you get on that right away. Governor, no problem, too easy. Give me something harder to do. And I'm finding out almost 2 years later that that's probably the most difficult job I've ever had, to learn everything I need to know about cybersecurity. And just when I thought I was there, there was something called artificial intelligence that started to raise its ugly head back at me. And I thought really I was going to go into my sunset after serving, for 30 plus years in the military. But, a lot of times we ask ourselves, why me? But I think we need to take that question and start reframing that and ask, why not me? So I must say that this partnership that we have with INDOPACOM, with the FBI, with CISA, with all the three-legged government agencies could not have been possible without the leadership of Governor Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. They're instrumental in ensuring that the entire island knows that her priority is cybersecurity. And we've tried to take that as best as we could. We have developed stronger partnerships through it, and I think we're headed in the right direction. We also have started looking at workforce development, and I'm learning now it's workforce transformation for the higher institutions of learning, because we realize that we just don't have the bandwidth to look at cybersecurity squarely in the face and square our shoulders and come at it with everything we have, with the best that we have to offer. So the only way we're going to do this is we have to do it together. We can no longer go into a fight alone, and we have to do it together to be successful, which is why these partnerships make a very big difference. And we're so far ahead than we were 2 years ago. I was actually in the same room as the governor when she lost all communications during Typhoon Mawar. And I don't ever want to see her in that demeanor ever again. So I think that's part of my job. I know part of my job is to deter war and to preserve peace. And if that means keeping cybersecurity and artificial intelligence at the forefront so that we can use it to our advantage, then I think we're in a good spot. Thank you.
If I may, I just want to circle back real quick on the RMF process, or the processes that we have in place today that bind us to standards. That worked like 20 years ago, all right? If we do not adopt a DevSecOps mindset where we are constantly evaluating, we are automating through artificial intelligence, automating our asset management, knowing what our boxes are supposed to do in real time, we won't make it. We have to be able to adopt at speed technology to allow us to defend our networks. And that is critical for defense critical infrastructure and all the other things that we are so now interdependent on when it comes to telecommunications or the internet.
Yeah, thanks, Noah. Speaking of like rapid development and innovation with AI, Dr. Leslie, how do we regulate oversight and public trust in order to secure Guam's digital future?
So, say that one more time.
Yeah, with the rapid innovation of AI within the regulatory oversight and public trust required to secure Guam's digital future. So how are we securing this rapid AI movement if we can't get ahead of it?
That's one of the hardest problems, I think, with AI innovation right now is how fast it's being adopted, right? It essentially kind of jumped off the screens in 2018 and has grown phenomenally. And so Rachel mentioned more frameworks, fewer frameworks actually, right? And so one of the things I think with AI is we still need to be cautious because as we adopt AI to help automate our tools and our processes, the bad guys are doing the same, right? Those threat actors are also using AI to try and figure out ways to attack our supply chain, ways to attack our critical infrastructure. So as we consider what tools we're going to adopt and how we're going to adopt that, we still need to be careful, right? Practice some caution in how we do that, but there's a balance that I don't have a good answer for on how to do that and who's the right people. We kind of we're seeing a shift, right? We're starting to see the shift in the cybersecurity workforce. We're also being asked to be the AI workforce, and that's a different skill set, right? And so as we shift to this workforce transformation, I think Dr. Okada said that earlier, that we're seeing people come to the university, come to GCC, already having another job or already having another skill. So where do we get this workforce who knows cyber and can then also implement safely things like AI, right? And so that's a challenge that we're facing, and it'll take all of us to try and figure out those answers, I think.
Yeah, speaking of that, Jeff, with DoD and the private industry on Guam, how are we working with academia or other entities to build AI-ready workforce?
I'm gonna open up maybe just with a quick story and then provide some context. So a friend of mine who worked critical infrastructure protection in Afghanistan, one thing he did that I thought was really important was everybody in the workspace likes to have pictures of their family with them. Well, when we're looking at a place in Afghanistan, a lot of that work involved engaging with the local population off the installation. They have families as well. And what he did was he took pictures of the people that we're engaging with, the local service providers, et cetera. He brought those pictures in to his operations center, and those individuals were kind of by the family and friends of the people that were on the installation working there. And the objective with that is making sure everyone understands that when we talk about these services that everyone relies on, it's a team effort. It's not just us, it's not just them, it's that group. And I think that same thing exists out here in Guam. Security does not happen by itself, it's a team effort. And by taking care of the people here in Guam, we're gonna take care of what DoD needs to do on the other side of that. The other thing I'd like to say is that islands are different, and we really need to think about what the approach is going to be in the context of what does it mean to be on an island. Here in Guam, CNMI, the COFA states, the other island nations, everybody's familiar with the impact of storms, and you know that when an event hits, it's everyone that's around you that's going to have to respond to that. You're going to respond with what you have on the island. So we really need to think about how do we posture and push as much capability forward so you have everything you need to respond when it's time. And I know there's only a few chairs up on this stage, and we're representing a small subset of what's available, but from the whole of government team, the whole Guam team, Guam Homeland, et cetera, we're all in this fight together, and we need to figure out how do we leverage everybody's resources and bring that together and push that as far forward as possible. And if I could just take a quick second for AI to set the operational context for what that might look like, because if you're not really dealing with it every day, it means different things to different people depending on what you're doing. But let's use power as an example. So you've got GPA. GPA generates power off the plants that require fossil fuels. We have solar farms. I believe there was a reference to a single windmill that doesn't turn as much as we'd like it to. If we think about all the distribution and the transmission architecture that's required to support it, fuel, water, that is a lot of what we would refer to as attack surface from a Department of War perspective. If you want to monitor that efficiently in 2025, AI brings a lot of capability to look at a lot of this data and be able to provide usable information to somebody to do something with it. And that can be very powerful because it reduces the overhead of maybe the amount of technical experts you might need to be able to do something with that information. But AI ML is hot. It's very exciting, and I think the approach requires deliberate planning to be able to deploy it successfully, because there's things that need to be considered. You're on an island. AI requires access. Some of those capabilities or tools could be cloud-based or cloud-native. You've got to make sure that the sensors, the access, the data models that are supporting your security appliances, all those things have to be operating. That requires transport, potentially both on island and off island. You've got power requirements for those tools, and those tools have to integrate successfully with the infrastructure that you currently have in place. Again, so these are all planning considerations to think about when we talk about the deployment of AI, especially in a more remote location such as an island.
Dr. Alexley, would you like to expand on that anymore?
Similar to what Jeff said, we enjoy partnering with everybody here as well as other people that are in the room and not in the room. Right? There's a larger group that's been working on this workforce development and partnering so that word does get out, information is shared across from academia, actually from DOD and GovGuam, through the agencies, through the telecoms, through the private industry and companies that need to know that information, and then as well as through academia as part of that group. And I think we've grown a lot in the last few years, and I think Typhoon Mawar really showed Guam that the way we deal with natural disasters has changed, right? And that's because our lives have changed and transformed with how connected we are. So having the telecoms go down was a serious thing for us, and it was not the same as when we had gone through typhoons when I was a kid, for example. You could deal without power for water for a little bit, but we didn't think about the phone going out, right? GTA was government at the time. And okay, maybe it went out for a little bit, but it wasn't detrimental. Now we see that it's really, truly, telecoms are part of that critical infrastructure, and we really do need to partner and train our students and train our workforce to do this. And in terms of implementing AI along those lines, right, and taking advantage of AI to help those things, I see that we can make advances, I think, in using AI specifically for certain areas. For the university, we're working on how to deal with AI. So there's different levels, right? For us in academia, we're looking at students and staff as the users of AI, and how do we make sure that they're prepared to use that when they enter the workforce, and work for all of you, where you're expecting them to know how to use generative AI to help them with their work, or how to use different tools in order to be more efficient at their jobs when they go out into the workforce. But then there's also ways that, something may be very specific that, for example, in programming or doing cybersecurity, there are going to be some very specific tools that will help us leap some bounds above what we could do manually, right? And even there is already a lot of automation in cyber, but AI can take that to a whole other level if we do it carefully, right? Because that cybersecurity is going to be sensitive to someone, right? It's sensitive information for the owners of that system, whether that owner is University of Guam, if that owner is yourself, and it's just your family and your manamku who are on that, right? You're the network administrator for your mom and dad. You don't want your mom and dad to lose their money or fall prey to a scam. Or for us at the university, one of the things that we need to deal with is, what are the implications of using AI tools for academia? Where's the intellectual property, right? What are those issues? And in terms of using these other tools that we don't necessarily control, if it's in the cloud, who else can access that, right? So from the government perspective, from the university perspective, from the healthcare perspective, right? We've got public health and we've got the hospital here. You've got these different types of privacy regulations. And so if we're using these AI tools, how much do we want to share with maybe servers that are not completely controlled by, well, we're not going to control it, but maybe not completely even controlled by the United States, right? So we talk about reducing our attack surface, and those are things that we need to consider when we implement AI and we train our workforce. And not just train our workforce, but train our public and train our community on these tools. Because eventually it'll be like using a computer, or using, somebody mentioned, Dr. Yershin, using GPS, using a calculator eventually.
So we talked about technology, people, and then training. Rachel, I'm curious if you can kind of expand a little bit on exploring opportunities like data center development and expanding digital infrastructure. What role do you see public-private partnerships playing in accelerating AI?
Okay, yeah, I wanted to go off of that because there's a lot of interesting things there. I think one of the best things about data centers on Guam is the data sovereignty piece. We always get concerned about
Absolutely.
It's in the cloud, it's somewhere out there. There's a phrase, the cloud is just somebody else's server. And it's true, but if you're here and you're in your data center here, that is US soil, US citizens, US connections, and we're subject to the US laws and regulations. So it's a huge incentive because we're the gateway to Asia. Like, our latency is lowest going to Japan versus going to California. And then you have many companies now do they follow the sunrise, like Microsoft is one, where their workforce is global, and we start our day here. Like, the sun doesn't go down on the US, like from where we start, where America's day begins. So I think that's a huge incentive for building the workforce here. We have the talent. Like, I see these kids, and these kids are like ready to go. We just gotta give them the opportunities and help develop them. Because very much the pipeline, at least in my experience, developing a career in tech here is less of a pipeline and more like a crazy straw sometimes. It requires a lot of flexibility, a lot of creativity to seek those opportunities, and a lot of times create opportunities to apply your skills. And so the investment needs to be there. How can we help widen that pipeline and bring more people in?
Yeah, Esther, with Guam at the center of growing hybrid threats, how can AI be used to help our agencies work better together to defend against cyber attacks and information warfare? And what practical steps can we take?
It's a loaded question, but it's a good question. But I don't know quite where to begin because there was so much Jeff said, there was so much Dr. Tibbs said that I could spin off on it. But to answer your question, I too am a fan of artificial intelligence, and I agree that we need to take a look at the policy, at training, and at technology, all at the same time. With training, I think how we can get in front of that is we have to promote a digital literacy across all domains, the government, private sector, so that everyone understands the language, everyone understands what AI is capable and the limitations of AI. When we talk about policy, there needs to be standards in place because like cyber, nobody owns cyberspace. And that's why it's so easy for anyone to navigate to and from. But if we establish policy on the use of artificial intelligence in the work that we do, that would give everyone a better understanding of how to apply it. Because as you know, artificial intelligence is designed to help us. And it can become a friend, but unfortunately, it can also be used against us for many reasons that this whole group in here understands. And then the last thing that we should still think about and continue to think about is the technology behind it. We talk about interoperability all the time. We talk about resilience, interoperability. We need not only for us to talk to each other so that we can understand the languages that we speak, but we need our systems to also be interoperable. And that's very valuable, and we can use those systems to our advantage. We can detect threats. We can use AI to develop a common operating picture so that we're all looking at the same thing at the same time, using the same data, and that will help us foster our relationships in using artificial development in cybersecurity. And I think if we make an investment in all those three areas, I think we'll still be headed in the right direction. And I think it'll give us a lot more comfort in going forward in actually applying artificial intelligence to address cybersecurity concerns. Thank you for the question.
No, I'm going to ask you the last question, and I want to open it up to the audience for at least 1 to 2 questions. So Noah, how can AI help Guam move forward from reactive cyber defense towards a predictive or even preemptive operation?
Can you?
Yeah, how can we go from being reactive to proactive with AI?
So with the magnitude of data, as we continue to censor in partnership here, I'll just use the island as an example. You know, our partnerships with the government, the municipalities, the community writ large, we apply these sensors, and there are now petabytes worth of data. No human being can look at a petabyte worth of data. Not in any timely fashion. It would probably take a lifetime. The embracement of artificial intelligence, which artificial intelligence is really machine learning, and machine learning is really a math problem. So you can take the math problem and adjust it to your individual needs, whether that's medical, whether that's power generation, whether that's, you know, keeping our water safe. We have to be able to adjust those algorithms to be able to automate the translation and kind of weeding out the FOD, for lack of a better term, weeding out the FOD to look at the data that matters to us, enabling our analysts to action things at speed. In our current state, and it's going to grow exponentially in the next 5 years, I guarantee it, it does every single year. The data that we're going to see 5 years from now is going to pretty much blow your mind. So we have to be able to embrace artificial intelligence and that basic math problems to be able to action the things that we need to action.
Thank you. I'd like to give an opportunity to the audience to ask the panel members a question or two. We've got one right there, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Carl Peterson. I'm representing the Armed Forces Committee of Chamber of Commerce. A few years ago, at the CASA meetings, General Nakasone would explain that the toughest job he has is to keep employees because they come in with a lot of enthusiasm, they learn the skill sets of the military, and immediately be employed by the private sector at sums way beyond their capacity to pay. So my question is, have you figured out a way to keep the best cybersecurity employees?
So I'll take a stab at it, and I know Paul Nakasone very well. One of the things that I think writ large that we need to do is to enable our young folks to be passionate about their work, enable critical thinking. Too often we're so risk adverse about if we push a button, we'll shut down, the power company. Well, in many cases, most cases, that isn't true. Allow the individuals to use their critical thinking skills. We've kind of moved away from being able to do critical thinking. Allow them to work through the problems. Then they become passionate about an issue. And then that helps keep our workforce employed. Now, there's always the money issue. And to me, passion outweighs money. And that's not always the case, but we are looking, at least within the DoD, is how do we offset some of that to keep our talent? But in my personal opinion, passion beats everything. Allow our kids to make mistakes and be critical thinkers. That makes them expert analysts in the future.
And I just want to add on to that. I totally agree that passion and giving students, giving employees that agency to learn and to become confident in their skills is the way to get them motivated to stay, right? So I myself left federal government to join the government of Guam because I felt an obligation to serve my island and serve my community. That was a pay cut, right? But I enjoy what I'm doing. I love teaching. I love being able to build these programs, right? Building cybersecurity is, for the University of Guam, is amazing. And working with people like this is amazing. But we run into those same problems. They're just not leaving the federal government. They're leaving the university and moving to GTA, or moving to Tokomo, or moving to NAVFAC. So we need to stop sharing the same people. We need to gain more people. And that solution is going to take some time, right? So that's going to be working with GCC, working with GDOB, reaching out and getting the youth involved and excited and motivated to do cyber, and not just cyber, but the related things to cyber, right? So robotics and learning STEM and math, because math is really behind AI, right? And so, getting the younger generation from elementary on up, Gen Z, right? They mentioned Gen Z. My kid is 13, and he is a digital native, right? We talked about this in one of the classes. I am definitely a digital immigrant. I had to learn and become comfortable with a lot of this stuff that my son is just native to him, right? He grew up with an iPad at his toes, literally. He would operate it as a baby. But getting that generation to then join these fields and be confident in their skills and be passionate, where they have broadened that workforce. And even if we don't broaden the workforce, broaden that awareness, broaden those skills, because cybersecurity, using AI wisely, that's a skill everyone should have, right? Not just specific career fields. We need those specific technicians, but we need everybody to be cyber aware. Don't click those links in your email. No, Bill Gates is not really giving you money, right? So those are some things, and it's going to take some time to get past this sharing of employees amongst the agencies, but we'll get there, I think, if we can build from the youth up, K through 12 up.
just want to add on to that one. I think there is a huge misconception of what information security looks like. Kids think it is the hacker in the hoodie in the corner. That is not it. If you've seen me talk before, I'm huge on talking about transferable skills. There is a spot in InfoSec for everyone. Do you know process? Great, I need you. Have you audited something before? Like, all the best auditors are CPAs. They come from different areas and they bring new perspectives and their experiences from their industry that are valuable to us. InfoSec is still new, it's still developing. And so we need to emphasize to these kids that it's not, InfoSec doesn't look like one thing, it looks like everything. For every piece of industry, there is a layer above it that needs security, no matter what it is. You think, like with power, it's like, oh, the power works? Okay, great. What do? They need engineers. Well, who's securing those OT devices? That's InfoSec. Where are those people going to come from? Engineers. Everything needs to be baked in. The security mindset needs to be baked into everything, whether you're a nurse, you're a teacher, you have like HIPAA laws, are you keeping the kids safe? Everything like that. So I think we need to remarket, rebrand the idea so that these kids know, hey, no matter what you like, there's a spot for you that involves security. And that's how we really grow the workforce.
I don't see anybody else with a question, so we're going to do a final 1-minute round because we have 5 minutes left of a rapid-fire question. So I'm going to ask a question to all panelists, and then you have 1 minute to give your insight, and that is, what AI-driven capability will transform Guam cyber resiliency? So whoever wants to take first, Jeff, I'm looking at you. You got it. I'm going to repeat it. What rapid innovation in AI, what AI-driven capability will transform Guam's cybersecurity? Minute or less, Jeff.
No, I'm not sure if I would say an AI investment in technology will transform Guam cybersecurity. The challenge I would put out both from our Department of War, and our interagency partners is let's take a look at the authorities we already have and how we can more effectively partner together and help fill gaps in what each of us can do, and how can we help support or deliver or resource things in Guam to get after. We talked about training, to support training pipelines, bring that expertise that we have in and help cover down, and so we can focus on helping Guam build that domestic cybersecurity capacity. So that's probably what I would recommend taking a look at with a deliberate approach first.
Thank you. Esther, I'm going to turn to you.
Thank you. I'm going to spin off on what Rachel recommended earlier. So before you asked the question, Colonel Knight, it was the common theme that was spoken on how to answer Mr. Peterson's question. Have we found a solution to recruit the best and the brightest? One common theme I heard with my fellow panelists here is the younger generation. I'm not too sure what to do with the old folks like me, but I guess until the younger folks come in and take our jobs, we have to hold the fort down and provide incentives for the young people to take over. However, you did mention, I think what it's going to take some rebranding. We have to change our mindsets as to the kind of jobs we have that are available. For instance, if we have an administrative assistant job that's available with the government of Guam, we have to look at that and probably change it to an analyst job, something that would attract and recruit and more importantly retain the workforce, the work transformation that's bound to happen. It's just not a matter of if, ladies and gentlemen, it's just a matter of when, and when is now. We have it right here, right now, and we have to do something about it because the way we're sustaining the workforce right now is starting to become taxing on the people who are here. And we're trying to keep up with something that is moving faster than we could ever imagine. So my advice would be for us to move a little bit faster to keep up. So that's my answer for that. I think it's going to take some rebranding. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And with that, we are at time, so just want to thank the panelists.